Hello, my name is Dr. Nicholas Goldenson. I'm a behavioral scientist at JUUL Labs. Today, my presentation will focus on the adult JUUL users switching and smoking trajectories, or ADJUST study. This slide displays my disclosures. The ADJUST study was sponsored by JUUL Labs. The ADJUST study was a longitudinal prospective cohort in-market surveillance study of adult JUUL purchasers in the US and was not an interventional study. The study was naturalistic and observational. Participants were not provided any instructions or encouraged to achieve any behavioral goal or outcome, such as stopping smoking. Participants were not provided with any product or behavioral support, but rather were observed over time via online surveys after they purchased a JUUL starter kit on their own. The study design allowed for the longitudinal assessment of tobacco use behaviors, including switching away from smoking, patterns of JUUL use and cigarette smoking, transitions between tobacco products, and factors associated with use patterns and transitions. The sample of the ADJUST study consisted of US adults at least 21 years of age making their first purchase of a JUUL starter kit between June and October of 2018. Participants were recruited via invitations in their JUUL starter kit package for retail purchasers or via follow-up emails for online purchasers. There was no eligibility criteria regarding smoking status. The sample included current, former, and never smokers. Employees of JUUL Labs were not eligible to participate, and the study was approved by an independent IRB. The baseline assessment occurred immediately following purchase. Follow-up assessments occurred 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, and 12 months post-baseline. Participants were compensated with a $30 gift card for each follow-up assessment they completed. The surveys primarily were based on measures included in national surveys such as the Population Assessment of Tobacco and Health Study. Items assessed socio-demographic characteristics and smoking characteristics at baseline. The key outcome at follow-up was self-reported past 30-day switching or point prevalent smoking abstinence. Switching was defined as no past 30-day smoking, not even a puff. The sample of the ADJUST study included over 55,000 adult JUUL purchasers. It was demographically diverse and generally representative of US adult end users. Compared to the US general population of smoking, participants in ADJUST were on average younger and of higher socioeconomic status. This figure displays the smoking status of all participants in the ADJUST study at baseline. 65% of participants reported smoking in the past 30 days. 25% were former smokers. Established and experimental former smokers were distinguished by whether they had smoked 100 cigarettes in their lifetime. 10% reported never smoking. However, use of non-cigarette combustible tobacco products such as hookah and cigars were not assessed, so some never smokers may have used nicotine products previously. This figure displays changes in smoking status among ADJUST participants 1 year following their purchase of a JUUL starter kit. 69% of respondents reported not smoking in the past 30 days. 14% reported smoking in the past 30 days but decreasing their daily cigarette consumption by 50% or more. And 17% reported smoking without significantly reducing their cigarette consumption. I will also present the results stratified by baseline smoking status. 58% of baseline past 30-day smokers reported no past 30-day smoking at 12 months. 22% were smoking but reduced their cigarette consumption by at least 50%. 86% of former established smokers reported no past 30-day smoking at the 12-month follow-up. Similar results were observed for former experimental smokers. 89% of never smokers reported no past 30-day smoking at 12 months. The ADJUST study also assessed individual factors associated with switching. Greater positive subjective responses to JUUL use at baseline were prospectively associated with increased switching across follow-up. Additionally, greater frequency of JUUL use and higher levels of dependence on JUUL at follow-up were also associated with greater odds of switching. These results have important implications for public health as they suggest that greater engagement with JUUL may facilitate switching away from cigarettes. Furthermore, smokers who believed JUUL to be less harmful than cigarettes were more likely to subsequently switch away from smoking. These findings are consistent with the scientific literature and have important implications for public health, as evidence demonstrates that misperceptions of the relative risk of ends compared to cigarettes are widespread. When interpreting the results of the ADJUST study, it is important to note that ADJUST was not a smoking cessation trial. Over half of established smokers were not planning to quit smoking in the next 30 days at baseline, and would not necessarily be eligible to participate in a cessation trial. Recruitment was based solely on purchasing a JUUL, and no product was provided. Additionally, no behavioral change goal was stated or implied, and no instructions, directions, or counseling was provided. Strengths of the ADJUST study included the large sample, which allowed for analyses of subgroups and provided ample statistical power for analyses. The longitudinal design and repeated assessment schedule of the ADJUST study included 6 assessments over 1 year and provided for finer temporal detail to assess the trajectories of switching. Additionally, the real-world sample of JUUL users was externally and ecologically valid. The study was also limited by several factors. All reports of switching were self-reported. However, this is typical for longitudinal observational studies, which do not include biochemical verification of switching generally. There was also some dropout, particularly immediately following baseline. However, methodological analyses indicate a low likelihood of bias due to non-response. Use of non-cigarette tobacco products was not assessed, which did not allow for a full assessment of tobacco use history, and polyuse was also not able to be evaluated. In conclusion, among adult smokers who purchased JUUL, rates of switching increased over the 1-year follow-up period, with over 50% of respondents reporting switching away from smoking 12 months after their initial purchase of a JUUL starter kit. Greater satisfaction and engagement with JUUL were associated with switching away from cigarettes, which has important implications for public health. In sum, these data suggest that adoption of JUUL may help smokers switch completely away from cigarette smoking, improving individually and ultimately population health. Lastly, I would like to acknowledge my team members at JUUL and our colleagues at the Center for Substance Use Research and Pinney Associates for their contributions to the ADJUST study.